Welcome back. So the definition of a family house under African customary law has come under the spotlight after a Soweto woman and her family members clashed in court over who the property belongs to. Now, the Johannesburg High Court ruled that the property constitutes a family house as envisaged by the customary laws of South Africa, which means no one can sell the property or evict its family occupants. We're going to get an explanation of this, and of course we're joined by attorney Zola Mbatha, who is in studio with us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
No, I love being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Naledi.
You know, we thought we're going into the festive season. A lot of families are going to be sitting together. You know, family reunions are going to be taking place, and this is those tough conversations around this house that we're in, this family house. Who controls what? And can we talk firstly about just how much of a burning issue it actually is in our country, to the extent where I think even TV shows have been made out of what happens with a family home? Yeah,
please, let's do that. You know, Naledi, I think I was very happy to be asked to join you today because this is a very important and a topic that really hits home for me. The reason for this is I run a legal clinic in Soweto, okay? And I predominantly started this clinic just to talk about the last will and testament, you know. I wanted the grannies to come, Omkhulu to come. Oh, let's talk about wills. That was my primal, you know, objective for that clinic. However, I think I maybe hit that topic only once or twice because it then subsequently became predominantly about people being evicted and losing their family homes, you know, and that was very heartbreaking for me because I was now sitting in a hall full of heartbroken people. This is what makes it a very hot topic, because if it happens in a cluster in Soweto, it's happening in Mlazi, it's happening in Tanzania, it's basically happening in all the locations. So I want to give you a quick background on basically just a picture where this all started. So currently, in the hands of black people, the biggest asset, you know, that is owned are family homes. These are properties that were given to black people by the apartheid government as 4 rooms. Okay? And when they gave these black people these properties, they said, we'll give you properties, homes, subject to one condition. A black person cannot own property, nor own land. We will put you on what is called a permit. This is the history of black people when it comes to property in the locations. They were all put on permits. So now, if you look at the current case, this is now a long time ago. I'm going to quickly run it back to 2024 where we got this order. It says, this Dlamini, because the case we're talking about is
Sylvia
Dlamini versus Nomthandazo Dlamini and others. Okay? We'll come back to the case because you want right now to talk about the history, right? So now, what has then happened is this case is saying, let's refer back to the traditional home. And the tradition at the front was permits. Now, if you look at how the police operated in those days, if you're a black person visiting another family, you had to be put on the permit so that when the police come at night, they must find your name on the permit or you're going to jail. So how do you then determine who in that permit is the family? Who is the original settler in this property? Because all of a sudden, from all the visitors, they are now all sitting on the permits. And so when we jump to 1994, now we've voted, black people are starting to have rights. There is now the Black Property Act, which means black people can now start owning property. So what does the deeds office do? It takes the one prominent person in the family. Sometimes the family offers that person, sometimes they chose him. There's no precedent as how is this person who's going to be on the title deed chosen. Now, we're moving from permits to a title deed where there's only one person. This one person all of a sudden has power over this property.
And the family.
And this family. Okay, now what does this person do? They do a will and they inherit the property to the next person, hoping that they're going to understand that it is a family home. Some wills are written, treat this as a family home, which allowed the deeds office to put this rule that it is a family home. Therefore, it cannot be sold, nor can it be transferred unless the whole family is consulted. But in most instances, it was just one family. In most instances, it was a man. And what did the man do? He married in communal property to someone from another family and then passed away. So he now left this ownership of this property to his new wife. What does she do? She brings in her whole family. It's no longer the Mbatha family. It's now the Dlamini family home. So when you say go back to tradition, where is this tradition you're saying people must go back to? Because so many things happened without set precedent. And this is what's going to give us a problem with the case we're about to talk about today.
So and we'll get into the case because, goodness, what an interesting sort of, I suppose, backdrop to the situation that you've put down.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, this is now perhaps the case where we're looking at, and you've made the example of Soweto, Danzani, and various other locations. Is this the case in rural areas?
Rural areas are another beast, to be honest with you, because there aren't even title deeds there. There's only councillors giving plots, a little square, go build your little rural property. In some instances, it becomes a big square based on how close you are to the councillor. So there's no formality in how the land allocation is happening there. And the reason that happens is because putting title ownership is not such an important thing. So the councillor is going around giving land freely, knowing that there's no deeds office that's going to regulate that allocation. So the rural is a completely different.
Okay, so
there's no title ownership there unless it's the converting from rural to urban.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
But let's start in the urban areas. Sylvia Dlamini versus Nomthandazo Dlamini and other family members. What we saw taking place there and the lesson that we take from it, and certainly even the precedents, I suppose, that was set by the court.
Yeah. Look, I read the judgment. I'm still going to go into it because I'm not happy with the summary. You know, as legal practitioners, we tend to first start with the summary of the judgment, just so we can see what was the outcome. We'll get to the technicalities later.
Right.
But now that I've read the outcome that says Sylvia Dlamini is the woman who inherited the property from her father.
Yes.
Remember when I was explaining the history of the family
So she's the one with the deed.
She's the one who's gotten the deed from someone else who got the deed, because she's now inherited through a will. She's saying, my father
Left this
Ubabu
house.
Dlamini
Yes.
left this property to me. And Nomthandazo was saying, your father was my mother's brother.
Okay.
My mother and your father had the same parents.
Yes.
Which were the original owners
So even
of this property.
for this woman's father, it was a family home.
It was still a family home when he got it. But the deeds registry does what? It registered only one person. For whatever reason that happened, only one person went on the title deed. So then what did the one person do? He did a will and left it to his daughter, Sylvia. Which is okay, Sisi. Naledi, if I can be honest with you, that's not bad, because at least there's precedent, there's law, there's regulation of this transfer.
Yeah.
Okay? But the problem is Sylvia decided to become greedy, and now she wants to own the property on her own. And the property must only benefit her and her children. Everyone else must be evicted. And so Sylvia started this monster that landed them in court. Okay? Because Nomthanda's saying your father and my mother had exactly the same rights. The only difference is your father got on a title deed, my mother didn't. Your grandfather, Sylvia, is exactly my grandfather. So my kids can grow up here, where I grew up, just like your kids. And so when Sylvia got the eviction order and kicked Nomthandazo and everyone else out, they said, no, we're not going to take this lying down. And we happen to have enough money to take this matter to the High Court. And let me tell you also why the matter ended up in High Court, which is part of this lovely introduction you gave. Because someone died, which means there's an estate here. And you can only deal with estate litigation in the High Court. You can't go to a magistrate's court, which is cheaper. In the High Court, most instances, you're using advocates. The cheapest advocate is 10,000 Rand an hour. So the Dlamini family happened to have plus minus 100,000, because that's what these court orders are costing.
Yeah.
But what about all those other hundreds of thousands of black families that don't have this 100,000?
Yeah.
Because this court order, as great as it is, because it reinstated the whole concept that ugogo nomkhulu were the original owners, don't kick all the great-grandchildren out. That's the only victory of this court case. I have not seen how you implement this family home. How do you identify which is the family home? What if Sylvia's dad had bought the house himself and then said, come, my sisters, you don't have houses. Come live with me and my kids. And when he died, he gave the house to his daughter. Is that still a traditional family home? It's not, because he bought it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what this court order is lacking. It just says, I hereby declare today in October 2024 that the traditional definition of a family home can be brought back into play. That's fantastic. Why? Because too many people are getting evicted and homeless. Remember I told you about my legal clinic in Soweto. Too many people are crying in halls saying we can't do traditional ceremonies because we've been kicked out. So I'm happy that this judgment addresses that. But what I'm not happy about is how are you going to implement it for every family that's not going to go to the High Court?
I'm seeing so many issues now immediately when you're saying that, because already we've got a situation where, and I sit now with customary law, and perhaps at some point we need to talk about how our own law and how we, I suppose, legislate actually deals with our own customs as Africans, because sometimes, and it seems like a lot of the time, the two just don't meet and understand each other. But this is where I want to take it. You are a man, I'm a woman, you and I are married in a customary marriage. According to law, automatically we are married in community of property.
Correct.
Right? If the property was mine and not yours and I passed away, automatically the property becomes yours.
Well, correct? Yes, you become an heir.
With or without my agreement.
With or without a will, yes.
With or without my agreement, without a will.
Yes.
That leaves my family where?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's the point. So recognition of customary marriages is not a good act itself. I do videos, a lot of legal videos to educate people, just 5-minute clips. I'm not happy with the recognition of customary marriages because it looks like the act wasn't written by people who are African.
Yeah.
It looks to me like it was just a consolation act. Oh, you've been getting married, white wedding. You've been getting married in terms of white legislation. Let's give you an act to honor your customs. As soon as you have finished your customs, you are married. But listen, you're also married in community of property.
Yeah.
They don't even do where the Marriage Act has antenuptial contracts in and out of community of property. They don't do that for the recognition. Because as long as you're getting married and you're an African, you obviously must be getting married in community of property. And this only serves capitalism because now you've combined your incomes. So now we must give solutions. We mustn't only state problems. Now, to solution for that, we say, as a person, if you know your partner is about to come and bring lobola to your family, before you send the letter, you as a man, before you send the letter to the woman's family, because all of a sudden the letter date is your date of marriage. Just stop yourself, go to a conveyancer or a notary.
The letter date of the lobola is your date of marriage.
It becomes your date of marriage. The date on your letter, the lobola letter, we are here to lobola Zola. We intend to hlanganisa imindeni on this and this day, 14 August 2020.
So that's even before the cows have been exchanged.
Listen, Sissy, the recognition of customary marriages, it really does upset people once they start understanding its implications, and they're very deep. One day we'll talk about it, just it alone. It says, as long as you're over the age of consenting, which is 18 in South Africa, okay, and you consent to entering a marriage customarily. In other words, I'm allowing you to come to my home to lobola me, and a celebration has taken place. You have been fed in my family. You and I are married in community of property. You don't even have to take out 50,000 or 5,000 lobola. You can pay a deposit because obviously most of these first ceremonies, we swap. We've come to greet. Here's 100 rand on the table. But in terms of you need to pay lobola for you and I to be married in community of property, no. You don't, Sissy.
Okay.
You don't.
Yeah. So okay, let's get back to this because obviously we could talk for a very
we can talk
for a very long time.
But basically the point we're making, you and I, is that you can't just write an act or give a judgment without looking at what are the black customs that you are trying to honor, because all you're going to cause is havoc and miscommunication.
What do you recommend? So particularly on this issue of a family home and you know, bringing together legislating for customary law. What do you put on the table and say, this is what's necessary now?
Right. So first and foremost, right now, practically speaking, most family homes are sitting on a title. So if you are a family that has financial means, I would say try and get the same order that Nomtandazo Dlamini went to go get. If you have a Sylvia in your family, if you have someone who's threatening family unity and the ability for all of us to enjoy the family home while they're sitting on the title deed, start investing on money so that you can get this order, because you obviously are going to get an eviction down the road yourself. That's the first thing. Second, which is very close to my heart, and I preach it all the time, families must sit down and talk to each other. And I love that you said it's the festive season. There's a lot of food that's going to be shared by families right now in this month of December. There's a lot of tables that people are going to be sitting at. They must start talking about the Sylvia Dlamini and Nomthandazo Dlamini case. They must start talking about the importance of a will. They must ask each other, Gogo, Mkulu, grandmother, grandfather, do you have wills right now? Can we see a copy of the title deed of this property? Because as it is, every year we're all contributing to this home under the fact that it is a family home. So as long as I'm contributing my money into this house, please show me a copy of the title deed. Now that I know it is John and Angel on the title deed. John, what is your intention with this property? Oh, I only want to give it to Naledi. Then why am I spending on this property?
Sure.
Let me start investing and on property that I can put my family in. You understand?
Yeah.
People must talk.
Yeah.
You can't rely on court cases and white people to solve black people problems.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
putting it straight like that.
Our customary practices are complex. That's the reality of it. Zola, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in studio. Thank you so much for breaking it down and also reminding us about how to maximize on the time that we'll be spending with family over the festive season. Zola Mbatha is an attorney. Stay with us on the other side of this short break.